So these two connectors came off of the bottom of the ashtray. So need to make sure that those go back where they belong. Tape is labeled ashtray, so hopefully we get this back, we'll be good to go. The screw that holds the ashtray in place is right there, so I put that back so I don't have to worry about losing it. The next to take apart is the hazard parking button, the window or mirror control switch. This is the connections for it. Then the 12 volt connector is actually not connected there. I'm going to take that apart to disconnect those leads. Alright, so to remove these connectors off of the back of these buttons, this lip right here just needs to be lifted up with a screwdriver. It's held in on this notch right here. So as the connector's on here, lift up, screwdriver, small flat tip, like so. And as you pry that open, or up just a little bit, then this will just slide right off. And the same will need to be done with the red connector right there. Okay, to disconnect the cigarette plug, 12 volt plug on this panel, it looks like we need to snip this zip tie to get that connector open or loose from the body so we can disconnect. Alright, so all I did was just cut the zip tie that's holding that connector down there through there, and you see it breaks free, and this slides in here with this little button. Push it in, zip it apart. Alright, so just a note that as you remove these connectors, it's always a good idea to label them, especially these two off of your hazard and your parking lights. So these are identical connectors minus the color, and you would think that since the hazard light button has red on it, that maybe that connector would be the one, but not so much. So this is actually the one that goes on your parking lights. The blue one goes on your hazards. So if you didn't label those and you send your parts off to be refinished, and you get it back, I don't know, a couple weeks later, or who knows when you have time to get it back in the car, and you look at these and you're like, oh crap, what goes where? So good idea to keep those labeled. And again, this one is labeled for the cigarette power. And then we just have this last connector to get to figure out how to. Okay, so this is the connector that came off of the back of the mirror control. So right here, goes in there. You'll see there's a little notch right here. And on the connector is a notch right here. So the best way to get that connector off, slide a small flat tip screwdriver into here and lift up as you pull the connector out. Obviously I can't do that with holding the camera, but as you see, if you get to that point, then it'll become obvious. And again, label that's mirror, so I know what's what. Okay, so trying to figure out how to get access to the reverse button and the auto button. Had a hard time finding what tool to use to remove these bolts that were holding the console down. I didn't have any of the right splines or Allen wrenches. They all seemed to just be the wrong size, so I was guessing metric fit. However, I do have set of safety Torx or security Torx, and this one right here, I don't even know what size it is. This one right here fit the bill perfectly. So saved the day, because I was going to be upset if I wasn't able to get that console off. So there we go. So once you get those 4 screws off, if you just reach in from underneath, you can pop that up and gain access to the buttons in order to remove them so that they can be sent off. Alright, so once you get this panel up, the connectors don't connect to the back of the buttons. The cable's part of the button itself. So if you follow this down, it gets zip tied right here to this bracket, and then rolls into a single cable. This piece, you just reach up underneath. There's just glue that holds this panel in. So just remove that. As you follow that down, you'll see there's a connector where that cable for the buttons plugs in right here. So just undo this cable, and then we'll be able to pull the buttons out. Okay, so this is the connector for the reverse and auto buttons. Alright, this is the harness for the vehicle, and this goes for the buttons. Oops. So in order to get this connector off, this gray piece will slide up like this, and then you pop a screwdriver in here to separate this. So once you stick a screwdriver in there, then this gray piece will come out, the connector from there, and then the connector just comes apart. So this is how the connector separates. Alright, so this is your vehicle harness, this is your button side. So now we do this. If I cut the zip tie, we'll be able to pull that completely out. Snip the zip tie, and here's the connector. And this is the back of the button plate. Okay. So it looks like undo a couple of these screws, and buttons should come right off. So these are the buttons separated from the aluminum trim. So again, 2 number 1 size Phillips screws holding each button in place. Remove those, and the buttons pop right out. Okay.